Hey everyone, Decov13 here, and welcome back to some more Let's Play Fate Hollow Ataraxia. So I think I found a fix for the problem I encountered last time, when Shinji crashed my game. Let's see if it worked.
Well?
So this should hopefully start up properly this time.
No. No. 貴様見て見てまさかって全然かナイス
Oh, it works this time. God, how the fuck do I play Hanafuda? What the hell is even going on? I legit have no idea what's going on. Is it playing by itself? What the hell just happened? I literally did nothing. The game just played itself. The storm is over. That whirlwind of some unknown enthusiasm is gone too, and the two of us has calmed down to the point it's kind of uncomfortable.
じゃあ、いつもの場所に戻りますね。
Yeah, I nod in response. There are times when a man must not be talked to.
じゃあ、これあげます。気が向いたら、スペシャルから遊んでくださいね。
He cheerfully relocates to the other end of the pier. Ah, he covered himself with a cardboard box.
俺も家に帰るか。
Purging the last 30 minutes from my memory, I leave the harbor behind. Destruction of the Earth by Shinji O thus narrowly averted. His greatest performance in the tale of the hero that battled against him will be forgotten, and having never been told even once. The end. What the fuck was that? Toraburu Hanafuda Travel Journal is now enabled. There's new events here. Hey, what's going on with Rin?
ここも見ていくか。
I stop at the electronics store. On a whim, I find myself wanting to check out the latest appliances. This is not a place Rin should be.
薄型大型化してるな。
A television with a particularly large screen catches my eye. One of these in our house would feel awfully out of place, wouldn't it? It's true that we have a lot of people, but none of them are big TV watchers.
いや、似合う以前にこんなにするんだ。手が出ないよな、これじゃ。
TVs being high voltage appliances, picking a broken one up to fix myself is just too dangerous. This is the one thing I have no choice other than to buy new.
あ、新品って言ったらこっちも問題だった。
The VCR we have right now is so outdated it's practically a historic artifact. It's not as though we've ever had need of one so far, but I'd like to get a DVD recorder to poke around inside of too.
あれ？レミヤくんじゃない。こんなところで何してるの？
遠坂か。というか、お前の方も
This is like some place that she is just so out of place. An electronics store is the last place where I'd expect to run into this girl. Exactly! If it were an antique furniture store or something, that would be more understandable somehow.
へえ、遠坂も買い替えとか考えてるんだ。
ん？何言ってるの？私は偶然白を見かけたからちょっと声をかけただけよ。
That makes more sense.
そうなのか。そうだよな。
Of the product for sale here, anything more complicated than a vacuum cleaner seems like it would be way out of Tosaka's range. I seem to recall that I know someone who's unable to use any device with more than 10 buttons on it. By the way, that someone is Tosaka.
エミヤ君、ひょっとして今ものすごく無礼なこと考えてない？
No, of course not.
多少は無礼かもしれない。あ、いや、遠坂はほら。
機械苦手だって言いたいんでしょ？
Yes.
苦手っていうか、あんまり触れようとしないだろ？あの遠ざけっぷりはアレルギー寸前というか、機械関係じゃさくらにも。
She's mad. Yeah. That's just how humans are. You don't know if speaking the truth to someone will result in joy or anger.
でしろ、そういう風に私を見ていたのね。
Just like 2 or 3 episodes ago, we got to see how you can't even use a fax machine, woman. Are you really gonna argue on this?
いいじゃんか。遠坂、大抵のことはさらっと片付けるだろ。一つぐらい欠点があってもいいんじゃないか？
Actually, speaking of fatal flaws, she's got another glaring one that comes to mind, but I don't dare speak it out loud.
ありがとうとは言っておくわ。けど、すべてに弱点なしが我が家の理想だし、いつまでも苦手苦手言ってられないわよね。
そっか。じゃあ少しは勉強する気でやってきたのか？
それはまた後の話よ。こういうのは綾子に教わってもっと最先端の機器になれないと。
ああ、三つ釣りは俺より情報家電関係は詳しいと思うな。
She used to be the captain of the archery club, and she certainly has the air of a martial artist about her. But contrary to that old-fashioned image, Mitsuzuri does keep up to date with the latest in game centers and such. That the subject of the conversation fails to turn to Emiya doesn't do that, though, is somewhat annoying. According to archery club members, she can spend all night long playing simple repetitive games.
で、三つ釣りに教わる前に予習しに来たと。
まあね、アナクロアンティーク女って思われるのも不本意だし。何も19世紀の人間じゃないから一応それなりにわかるわよ。あの辺が液晶ディスプレイでしょ？
What Tosaka is pointing to is the very same big screen liquid crystal TV I was looking at before. Good going, Tosaka. You sure got that one right. I wonder if she figured that out based on how thin it is. So, do you know the difference between plasma and LCD then? A question like that would surely stop her in her tracks, so I opt to keep my mouth shut.
さっき見てたけど、エミヤ君は欲しいの？
あったらいいなと思うけど、懐の余裕がない。さらに俺の家に似合わない。
私の家にもね。あんなにするの？ルビー20カラットくらい買えるじゃない。
One look at the price tag makes Tosaka go pale. Having gemstones as her basis of comparison seems awfully luxurious. In my case, I'd wonder how many months worth of our food budget it would take.
そうね。私たちにはミニすぎたアイテムよね。
我が家には画面が小さいことに不満を持つのはいないからな。
で、あの辺がビデオデッキ。
Tosaka is now pointing to...
残念、違う。
嘘！だってあの形ってビデオじゃない。
いや、あそこだろ？あれは再生専用の DVD プレイヤーだ。
I lead Tosaka over to the recording equipment section and take a look around. I don't blame her for being confused by all this.
どういうこと？
これが再生用。 こっちが HDD プラス DVD-RW。
Dude, you're gonna overload
こっち
her.
が HDD プラス DVD ラム。これが HDD 専用レコーダーで、この辺が CS デジタルの。
In the midst of my explanation, I gradually realized that Tosaka is glaring at me with enmity. The gulf between Tosaka and I when it comes to the subject of magical knowledge, on one hand, and modern technical knowledge, on the other, is particularly apparent right now. And the longer Tosaka stands here in this electronics store, the further away she somehow seems to be moving from the world.
何その呪文。
俺もかなり呪文じみてないかと思う。そのうちブルーレイと HD-DVD が来るとか。
青い光線？ビデオはどこに？
あの辺。まだ需要あるからな。
You should be able to tell one by a single glance, I think, which may be a bit harsh. It's like you take your eyes off them for a moment and suddenly the varieties multiply. It makes me nostalgic for the golden age of VHS from my childhood.
これテレビを録画するものでしょ？
必ずしもそれだけじゃないけど、そんな感じだ。遠坂はやっぱりあれだな。写真を撮ると魂が奪われるって感じの。
奪えるわよ。
What do you mean, of course?
レンズと印画紙にしかるべき処置を施せば素材になるわよ。
Ren.
まあ奪うんじゃなくて一時的に停止させるが正しいんだけど。
デジカメでも
A what clam? Tosaka murmurs. Realizing that she doesn't even know what Digicam stands for, leaves me incapable of delivering a witty comeback.
そのなんだっけ DVD？
Oh god, we gotta start there?
デジタルバーサタイルディスク、略して DVD。
ラムと RW って言ってたけど。
Even though I was speaking so knowledgeably to her about this stuff, that one might be beyond me. I doubt I could clearly explain the difference between the two. It seems that some people can get worked up into a nearly religious fervor over the finer points of these things, but having never really used either, it's outside the realm of my understanding.
ごめんなさい。よくわかりません。
ほらご覧なさい。シロでもそうなら私なんかもっとわからなくて仕方ないわよ。私にしてみると最近のこういうのの方がよっぽど魔術じみてるわ。
Come to think of it, I know there was some guy who once said that sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
なあ、遠坂、悲観することはないぞ。人間 DVD がなくても生きていける。
そのうち電話やテレビみたいになんとか生きていけるって話になるわよ。まったく私もあなたも綾子に旧時代の人間だって笑われるわね。
I can definitely imagine Mitsuzuri laughing, saying something like, "You're completely analog," to her. And it's not as though she could just shoot back with, that's because I'm a magus after all, no matter how much she might want to.
この辺も買うとかシロも。
我が家のチャンネル争いが深刻化する前にって考えてるけど、安くはないな。
エミヤの家も大所帯になったわね。ああ、私もか。
Tosaka gives a small laugh, as though she's only just realized that she too is among those people.
あと 2,3 人は収容可能だから気にするな。
エミヤくん、下宿の寮夫とかペンションのオーナーとか似合いそうよね。
She said would, but that's pretty much what I'm doing already. At any rate, when the time comes that I'm able to strike out on my own as a magus, how will my life change from the way it is now?
そういう生活も悪くはないと。
ま、シロが隠遁する暇なんか私が与えないから安心しなさい。さて、ここにいてもすることないんだから他に行きましょう。
Tosaka seems to have unilaterally decided that I'll accompany her for today. Fine with me, although I can tell I'm in for a hard time later. She didn't even get halfway through her so-called study of electronics, did she? Oh boy. Alright, I want to do one more loop through, because I want to do that other thing that seems to be available before we go talk to Karen. Oh, something new here in the courtyard. Okay, let's see what this is. We're all sitting in the living room as lunchtime draws near. Suddenly, while watching television...
結婚か。いいわよね。
Where the hell is this coming from? Those are the words I hear. I sense a sudden and awkward tension in the air. I bet everyone feels the same way.
何タイガ、結婚する気あったの？
Setting her cup of milk tea down on its saucer with a clink, Ilya says what the rest of us are thinking. Sakura then speaks up as well.
爆弾って爆発する前に一瞬だけ静かになるって。もし結婚式をするならアインツビルンジョを貸してあげてもいいわよ。もっともタイガに相手がいればの話だけど。
Jesus Christ, Ilya. Tosag is the next to speak.
あれが爆破の瞬間ね。
Yeah, that's not pretty.
相手なんているわけないでしょ。シローがだいぶしっかりしてきたからもう大丈夫かなって思ってたら、いつの間にやら2人増え3人増え、もはやキリツグさんちは夢の温泉宿っていうか、最近は女子校がトレンドなのね。もうともかくそんな状態になっている真靴から目を離す暇なんてあるわけないじゃないのよ。タイガ、落ち着いてください。私に何ができるというのか。こうなっては教師として姉としてシローが人の道を踏み外さないよう真剣片手に監視するしかないと思いまして、でもそろそろ面倒いからサクッと虚勢するのも致し方なしと言いましょうか。我が国の伝統芸能である間引きシステムによって攻略対象を1人か2人ぐらい闇に葬るのも検討中というかですね。
セイバー、構わないからやっちゃいなさい。
なんか口にしてたら面白くなってきた。
Are they?
やってみよう。そうよね。あれこれ考える前にまずやってみるのが正しいわ。簡単だし。
I think she's lost it. It did not look like a strong blow to me, but it sent Fujine staggering before she gently collapsed onto the floor. I feel sorry for Fujine, but this was the most appropriate and fastest way of dealing with the issue.
タイガは眠っています。すみません、シロ。とっさのこととはいえ、強行手段を取ってしまった。
No, you did what needed to be done, Saber. After carrying Fujine to her room, Saber apologizes.
いや、セイバーが謝ることじゃない。あのまま放っておいたら、どんな惨劇が繰り広げられていたか。
To begin with, it was Tosaka who gave the order.
何よ。あのまま藤村先生の本能の赴くままにしておけばよかったっていうの？
いや、文句はない。セイバーがやらなかったら、俺が命を賭して食い止めなくちゃいけなかったろうし。
Thinking it over, I'd say we got away with minimal damage this time.
タイガにも困ったものね。結婚したいなら、もっと自分本位にならないとダメなのに。人のことばっかり気にして、根っからの教師なのね。
My oh my, remarks Ilya as she puts down another pot of tea.
エミヤくん、藤村先生もらってあげれば？ダメです。
Of course, Sakura just immediately jumps in. Lightning speed response. The words were out of Sakura's mouth before Tosaka could finish saying sensei, and almost seemed to leave a sonic boom in their wake.
冗談よ、冗談。ほら、エミヤくんなんて驚いて固まっちゃってるじゃない。先輩、別にそういう意味じゃないんですよ。
Sakura. Then what the heck does it mean is what I want to ask, but decided against delving in further.
しかし、なんだよな。藤姉もさ、急に結婚とか言われてもピンとこないよな。
まあ、普通はそうよね。特に私たちはそのあたりとの縁も薄いし。
She's right about that. None of the usual crowd that gathers here is has what you'd call a normal life in regards to marriage or family living. Suddenly, Sakura's eyes meet mine. Tosaka noticed. At an angle, I could see an unpleasant smile directed at me.
何言ってるの、リン。あなた、 神父が身元引受人だったくせに。だからって教会に住んでいたんじゃないし、別に馴染みがあるってわけでもないわ。
I suppose so. Although I've never seen one myself, the church is where weddings are supposed to take place in Fuyuge.
ってことは、あいつに祝福されて結婚した人たちがいたってことか。
Oh god, could you imagine? The fucking censor bar over his eyes. That sounds... How should I put this? Less like being wed and more like being judged before God. Some weird sort of Twilight Zone, maybe.
そりゃあいたわよ。
There were?
ま、あんなでも神父としては火の打ちどころのないやつだったし、結婚式を挙げた人たちは満足してたと思うけど。
Right. The scary thing is, aside from his personality, as a priest, that man was perfect. Well, when it comes to marriage, Kuzuki-sensei and Castra's story is the closest. Does that count?
よろしいでしょうか。結婚式ということでしたら、私にも経験があります。一応ですが、挙式は城で行いましたので。
You had a Guinevere, right?
え
Sakura, Tosaka, and I freeze in shock.
みんな何固まってるのよ。
Yeah.
セイバーが結婚してたなんて当たり前のことでしょ。
I mean, yeah.
そういえばそうだったわね。
I see. Saber's legend includes a lot of facts that may or may not be true, but marriage is one that is often mentioned. It's just that knowing the way it ends, it can't possibly be a good topic to bring up out of mere curiosity. Yeah, because she did cheat on her with, Lancelot. Tosaka and Sakura seem to have the same thought as we exchange glances.
ねえ、どんな風に暮らしてたの？
あまり参考になるとは思いませんよ、イリアスフィール。それでも良いのですか？
ええ、参考にする気なんてないもの。
そうですか。
This is the part where not having Fujine around really helps.
式そのものは盛大なものでした。国を挙げてのものでしたから、7日ほど続いたでしょうか。私と彼女、ギネビアの婚姻は、国中に祝福されたものだったと言えるでしょう。偽りとはいえ、私も男性として彼女を愛そうと誓いました。とはいえ、私は彼女の夫である前に王だった。もっとひどい言い方をするのであれば、王として彼女と結婚したとも言える。
じゃあ、好きじゃなかったのに、その人と結婚したんですか？
ええ、私なりに彼女に好意を抱いてはいましたが、それだけでは夫として不十分だったのでしょうね。結果として私たちは互いを裏切ることになった。彼女が不遇の人生を送り、その名誉を汚された責任の一端は間違いなく私にありました。それでも確かに私はできる限り男性として彼女を愛そうとしたのです。婚姻そのものは政治のためでしたが、あの結婚式の時だけは彼女の幸福を切に願えた。それは私にとっても人間として幸福な時間だったと思います。
The way she told that story was much too calm. I could not possibly understand just what kind of different emotions were mixed in there. And with that, Saber's tale comes to an end with a smile, mixed with just a hint of loneliness. Jeez, the rider in the storage room now. No, what the hell's going on in here? I don't trust this woman alone anyway. Perhaps I should pop into the storehouse for a moment and see how things look. All I've been doing in here lately is organizing the place, so I thought I'd try fixing some of the broken things I'd set aside for a change.
シロ、ちょっとよろしいですか？シロ、調子が悪いので見ていただきたいと。どこか緩んでいるのか、手で押さえていてもぐらついて心もとないのです。
これまでユラクのままに手荒に扱いすぎたせいなのか、少し触れただけで張りが弱くなっているようで。
She's talking about the bike. Oh, so this huge chest barrier was Ryder. No, that's not it.
修理って何を？無理、そんなのの修理なんて絶対無理。というか俺がやったらダメすぎる。
Shiro.
ほら、そういうことはセイバーには縁がないから。遠坂だって関係ないよな。そうだ、さくらだ。さくらが詳しくないはずがない。今こそさくらが一番頼りになるとき。ああ、もうさくらしかいない。さくらで行こう。
自転車のことなのですが、今シローは忙しいのですか？
いや、さくらほどじゃないです。
涼しくなってきましたね、シロー。
Damn, this height difference. If I were another head taller, I wouldn't have lost face in that misunderstanding. Even walking beside her is just...
そろそろシローも首元が隠れるような暖かい服を着てはどうです？先ほどから吸血跡が目につい。いや、
Are you still doing that? Ryder! This woman is incorrigible. The evidence of her crimes is starting to show. Hearing those words coming from so far above makes me feel like a kindergartner being spoken to by a teacher. The height difference is weighing on my mind whether I like it or not. I think there are other things that should be weighing on your mind, dude.
はい。
いや、羨ましいんだ。俺ももう少し背が高ければって思ってるし。モデルみたいに凛々しいし、いるだけで人の目を引きつける魅力もあるじゃんか。
しかし可愛くはありません。
Cute?
それには小柄であることが前提です。私にはどうしようもない。
True, cute tends to be used to praise something small and delicate, and Ryder has just the opposite qualities.
可愛いって思われたかったんだ。
What would a cute Ryder look like? Clutching a plushie that she always talks to, playing video games and getting so absorbed in them that she moves along with the characters, hitting her head on the coffee table and knocking herself out, peeking at the tea cakes that Issei shared with me saying, "What shall we do with these, Shiro?" and grinning ear to ear. I think all those positions are already filled. People yearn for what they do not have, and apparently even Ryder, who looks like a faultless beauty to me, is no exception.
けど、そればかりは仕方がないよな。そうだ、逆にさ、背が高くて得したことは？
あまりないですね。
例えば、商店の一番上の棚にも手が届くとか、人混みの中で待ち合わせの時目印になるとか。
不利益と差し引きすればマイナスだと断言できます。
不利益？
What are the disadvantages? She has a pensive, melancholic look, as if she's deep in thought. Looking up at her, I get the impression that she's really distressed on the inside. Perhaps there's lots of filth I end up not seeing due to my height, but Ryder has it in plain view. Even so, I'm still envious of tall people. They can forget the minor stuff and let their feelings become grand. Yeah, that's right. Climbing up to a high place makes you feel so grand you just want to yell at the top of your lungs. Isn't that nice? Being up high, by virtue of being so tall.
Yahoo!
Who'll go around yelling Yahoo at my age? Nobody in their right mind, that's for sure.
違う、このヤッホーは。
Ilya, what are you doing? Ilya! Coming from high up! Watch out! Flying, falling. That is an inevitable law of physics, and not even Ilya is above it. However, why is it that creatures that cannot fly in the sky always try to do so? The real reason might be that falling is more fun than flying. She dives, keeping herself in a basic arch stance, and I execute a perfect catch. But I couldn't cancel out the kinetic energy. In my rush to protect Ilya, I end up tumbling magnificently to the ground. Why are you jumping down from the second floor? Ilya seems to be alright. Although my now battered body is another story. That's why I want to be taller. I could have caught her easily just now. I stiffen, thinking she may have gotten caught on something. I look back. The bicycle rider was pushing has fallen down. Rider is frozen stiff, her arms held out in the air as if holding the handlebars. She hasn't even noticed that the bicycle is down. I look over at her to see what might be wrong and realize that the pupils of her eyes behind her mystic eye-killing glasses aren't focusing. What is going on with her? Oh. Oh no, she's getting PTSD! So I was her elder sister. Come to think of it, every time Ryder's with me, she's always considerate, stepping aside and acting with particular respect. Honestly, I don't mind her reserved demeanor, but I've been struggling to find the words to describe that kind of distance between us. I see. So I was her elder sister. Like hell I am! Ryder looks around awkwardly. She's behaving really suspiciously. Hold on a second. You already asked that.
どこか緩んでいるのか、手で押さえていてもこの通り少しぐらついて心もとないのです。これまでユラクのまま手荒に扱いすぎたせいでしょうが、一つシローの手で修復をお願いします。
まあそれはさっき聞いた。そしてそれは自転車じゃなくて猫の大好き空間スリルキャットタワー。猫が登ったり爪を研いだり用を足したりする万能ジャングルジムで、藤姉がどこからか拾ってきていつの間にか勝手にここに置いていったやつ。
One hell of a cat tower. The bike is still down there. What do you mean round two? As if to break through the awkward silence, the white one dives again. I can't take my eyes off this little berserker for an instant. This time the comet is headed straight for Ryder.
Ryder, 頼む。
はい。
She'll be fine. With her tall stature and supernatural strength, she can catch Ilya easily. How nice it is to be tall. Look, she doesn't even flinch after catching Ilya. She doesn't flinch, but...
なんで?
Dumbstruck, Ryder has turned into a statue. Ryder?
Ryder?
Yeah. Ryder, of all people, is shrieking in terror, all the while attempting to shake off Ilya, who's clinging onto her. There are some serious psychological issues at play here, no doubt.
ダメ、シロ、早く取ってください。
失礼ね。黒いラインを毛虫みたいに扱うなんて。 そんなこと言うライダーにはこうしちゃうんだから。
Hugging her neck, Ilya rubs her cheek against Ryder's face.
Huh?
What a strange reaction. Don't tell me there are secrets to Ryder which we are not yet aware of. There are indeed. Now let us tell the tale of a distant foreign country. Oh, we're going back? It is a dark tale, tainted with fresh blood. The story of a female monster, the mere mention of which makes one tremble in fear. The legend of Medusa. It takes place in a foreign land known as the Shapeless Isle. A faraway island that lies beyond the Okeanos, known to no one but the three Grey Witches, the Graiae. It is said that a fallen goddess that transformed into a terrible Gorgon lived there. Many warriors reached this temple shrouded in mystery. Some went to confirm the legend of the Gorgon. Others went to claim the glory of slaying the Gorgon. Some were dispatched to the island with an oracle's dazzling prophecy. Yet others equipped themselves with swords, spears, and bows and arrows, and traveled there with nary a word spoken to anyone else. Yet none of them still breathe. Not a single one escaped the island alive. They did not die and return to the earth either. Turned into stone alive, their lives simply ended there. The owner of Cybele, the mystic eyes of petrification, walks through the temple. Her hair is like silk of the Far East, and her skin is white like freshly fallen snow. And yet she is drier than the desert of Nubia, and more vicious than a sandstorm. She gazes at the stone statues of the petrified heroes, taking special notice of one of them. The statue of a huge man carrying a spear. His bulging sinews remind her of the great physical strength he had while he was still alive. As the temple's queen looks over the stone figure, her lips curve slightly. She raises her strange-looking dagger overhead in front of the pitiful man. Pulling the chain attached to the double-edged dagger now sticking out from the statue, she wraps it around another statue. Standing in front of the chain now stretched between the two figures, she bends down to the basket at her feet and picks up a heap of laundry. That was a twist I wasn't expecting. In the basket are a multitude of clothes made from expensive silk and linen, decorated with laces and ribbons. She washes them all diligently, rinsing in the river, then hanging them up on the chains one by one. Stoically, she labors on. The moment it falls into her hands, a spear turns into a clothesline, a sword into a hanger, and a helmet into a shoe-drying rack. Thus, having finished hanging up the laundry, she notices a single statue casting a shadow on the clothes, then proceeds to kick it down. Her work is finally completed. The owner of the mystic eyes looks at the statues scattered throughout the temple. She sighs listlessly. She sits down on the statue of a man trying to crawl away to escape. Under the pleasantly warm sunlight, a dry wind breezes through her hair and on the laundry. Bathed by the rays of sunlight, she gazes at the sun absent-mindedly. Right now, she is neither a goddess worshipped by many nor a monster which shakes the earth, but a young woman enjoying the tranquility.
Medusa!
Suddenly, a voice filled with anger echoes in the temple. Not that this is a rare occurrence on this island. Seeking the glory of exterminating the Snake Witch, many people come day and night to kill her. As a result, it seems that there will be one more clothes hanger to join this cemetery of bizarre stone statues. Hold on. However, the owner of the mystic eyes, who is supposed to smack her lips at her new sacrifice, cowers, as if meeting the end of the world. Appearing on the top of the stairs overlooking the forest of stone statues. is only a single girl in a dazzling outfit. I believe that's your ale.
あなたはなんてことを。だって洗濯物を干すのにその錆臭い鎖は使うなとあれほど言ったじゃないの。
Oh.
お許しください姉様。便利なものでつい。お黙りなさい。ああもう私の端正だった服に鎖の凹凸の跡がついて台無しじゃない。でかいあなたがバカ力で力任せにこするから汚れだけでなく神聖まで落として。いいこと？私の体を飾る衣装はあなたの粗雑な服とは違うのです。はい、申し訳ございません。それに私の靴、あんなブサイクな男の上に乗せるなんてどういうこと？お気に入りの靴だったのにあれじゃあ汚らわしくてもう履けないわ。大女総身に知恵が回りかねと言うけれどあなたと来たら品位や美意識まで欠けているようね。はい、返す言葉もございません。その服は陰干ししなきゃダメじゃない。焦っちゃってる。もう洗濯一つ満足にできないどころか服を全部ダメにしちゃうなんて信じられない。あなたは究極の疫病神なの？それとも最高の役立たずなの？どうなの？答えなさいダメデューサ。それは姉様次は気をつけますから。まだわからないようね。あなたに次なんてないのよ。もう私は明日から何を着ればいいの？あなたみたいに裸同然のハレンチな格好で過ごせというの？でもこの服は姉様たちの。何よ文句あるの？あなたには私たちの余り物で十分でしょうに。
This beautiful woman was told off completely by a girl with a height lower than her chest. It might have looked charming to an observer, but sadly there's nobody here to watch but the wordless stone statues now.
まったくどれもこれも醜いわ。女の気を引きたがるような下びた顔ばっかりで男はこんな顔するようになったらおしまいね。これからは美形の男だけ石にしなさい。鑑賞価値のないここの石像は全部砕いて片付けること。そんなだってこんなにあるのに。姉の私がやれと言ったらやるのよ。あなたは妹。この島では奴隷以下の存在なんだから。あとこの前みたいに手を抜いてベルレフォンで石像を一掃するなんてのはダメよ。そんなことしたら神殿まで焼け焦げちゃうでしょ。まったくバレなければいいだなんて誰に似たのかしら。姉様だと思うけど。聞こえたわよメデューサ。信じられない。さっきあなたは奴隷以下だと断ったばかりなのにそれをもう忘れて姉に反乱を起こすなんて。そこまでは。やっぱり物覚えの悪いあなたには絶対霊獣の態度を体で教えてあげなきゃわからないかしら。あ、逃げるなんて許さないわよメデューサ。
Shaking off the restraining voice of her pursuer, the owner of the mystic eyes dashes off at full speed. She's heading for the stable. There resides her Pegasus, the gift from the god of the sea, beside them. She needs to get on the winged specimen of a phantasmal species and escape to the skies for a while, far away from the reach of her sister's hands. Then she just has to pray that her sister's mood would change before she returns.
そうすると掃除と食事の用意が。 でもあのままだったらお仕置きされて結局できないし。はあ。
She laments while fleeing away. Thanks to her long legs, her sister couldn't catch up to her on foot. She felt gloomy at the thought, and this was the only time that she was thankful for her tall stature.
私も姉様みたいに可愛ければいいのに。
She opens the door of the stable, but the owner of the mystic eyes stands in shock.
姉様、どうしてこちらに？
The girl holding the reins to the Pegasus laughs lightly.
あら、ごめんなさいね、メドゥーサ。ちょうど遠乗りから帰ってきたばかりで、この子は疲れ切っています。私はともかく、あなたのように大きくて重たい乗り手はもう乗せられないでしょうね。
And this would be Steno.
そんな、今日は朝から休ませてあげるって。島の外に出たいの？それなら泳いでいけばいいでしょ。あなたの肥えた体なら水によく浮きますもの。いいですか？持ち主として注意しますが、今日はこの子を使ってはいけません。え？だってその子は私がいただいて。困ったメドゥーサね。妹のものは姉のもの、姉のものは姉のものだと何度言えばわかるのでしょう。ほんとすぐ楽して私の天まで出かけようとするのはおやめなさい。悲しいわ。その物臭なところは一体誰に似たのかしら。ああ、聞こえましたよ、メドゥーサ。仕方ありませんね。私も本意ではありませんが、妹が姉に背くとどうなるか体で教えて差し上げます。今度は何も言ってません。ごめんなさい。
The owner cannot help but dart out of the stable. However,
あら、私のところに戻ってくるなんて姑息なあなたにしては殊勝な心がけね。下姉様。あら、私がメドゥーサを捕まえてくださったの？上姉様。
this will require some explanation. The two girls giving Medusa a hard time, each one the spitting image of each other, these two are in fact Medusa's older sisters. The eldest one is Steno, the strong. The younger one is Uriel, the far flyer. Finally, the youngest and tallest, alike yet different, is Medusa, the woman that dominates. These three lovely ladies were the infamous Gorgon sisters. Exiled to the Shapeless Isle, turning one brave man after another into stone, they were prominent monsters even in the world of Greece. However, as a side note to avoid any misunderstanding, it was only the youngest sister, Medusa, who struck fear into the hearts of heroes. That is to say, the two older sisters could not boast of any fighting prowess at all. Or rather, while they had been acquiring an entirely different ill reputation than Medusa, her sisters were revered as goddesses by the nearby men. Originally, they were ancient indigenous gods of Greece. Nevertheless, jealous of their beauty, the goddess Athena took away their faith from the people and exiled them to the Shapeless Isle. Although only Medusa alone received Athena's ire, out of care for their younger sister, the siblings accompanied her to the Isle as well. Since then, rumors about them being monsters started circulating amongst people. However, a rumor is still only a rumor. They did not become monsters and merely continued to spend their days like before. The legendary infamous Medusa aside, the first and second daughters were literally perfected goddesses. The eldest daughter, Steno. A lady with elegant demeanor, overflowing grace, and wisdom in her words and actions. A goddess said to be the ideal woman. It is said that merely hearing one's name escape from her lips is enough to make a man lose his senses over the rapturous feeling, and swear eternal loyalty to her. The second daughter, Uriel, a lady with a carefree demeanor, overflowing smile, and the essence of purity in her words and actions. A goddess said to be the ideal girl. It is said that merely hearing one's name escape from her lips is enough to make a man tremble all over with honor and swear to protect her even at the cost of his life. Unlike Medusa, these two goddesses had neither mystic eyes nor supernatural strength. With merely the power of immortality and eternal youth, they were just weak girls. Athena lied about them, that the reason they would never grow old was because they were monsters. That was false. Different from the gods of Olympus who needed to consume the golden apples to stop aging, the sisters, especially Steno and Uriel, were born into this world as idols, completely immortal. They were the embodiment of the yearning hearts of men. Although they would never age, they were the weakest beings in this world. With no power to fight, these immortal girls would starve if left alone. They could not live without help from others. That is the divine essence of the Gorgon sisters. From the moment they were created up until the moment they are destroyed, they will remain the same. Except the youngest, who was a failure from birth. The youngest daughter, Medusa. Different from her older sisters, she did not have the skills of a perfect goddess. The two older sisters were forever young, but Medusa's immortality was imperfect. As a result, in spite of being the younger sister, Medusa grew older and taller than her sisters, and was revered as a monster different from them altogether. As a side note, one ought to mention that she was a great goddess nonetheless. The Gorgon sisters were the results of the deification of the same supernatural phenomena. One could call them copies or clones. It could have been a mistake during her birth, or there might have been a deeper significance to it, but the youngest sister Medusa was not copied correctly. The older sisters embodied the concept of forever young and immortal, yet Medusa received nothing of the sort. Nevertheless, as compensation, Medusa was endowed with various abilities which her sisters were not. The mystic eyes of petrification, a supernatural ability to interfere with nature, and excellent physical abilities. All of these can be said to be divine powers indispensable in protecting her sisters who couldn't live in this world by themselves. However, it was those physical differences that caused the sisters, once united, to become three different individuals. It is not a surprising development for Medusa, different from the start, but in the process of interacting with one such sibling, even the two others, who were meant to be the same, eventually showed slight irregularities. The youngest sister an expert in combat, and her older sister who perfected themselves as idols. Unlike Medusa, they liked humans very much. They welcomed the men who visited their island, comforted them, and sent them on a new adventure. Eternal idols. The incarnations of the image of a pure maiden. Idealized, never-aging young girls. Twin deities in a class entirely different from that of the haughty goddesses with full curves. That's right. As goddesses whose purposes was just to be loved and spoiled, being cute was their specialty. The ultimate sisters whose beauty would never be matched even by Medusa's best efforts. They were the Snow White goth lolly idol duo. For Steno and Uriel, that was the meaning of their very existence. Well, that's what the men observing from afar and oblivious of their true character said of them. The eldest daughter, Steno, a lady with elegant demeanor, overflowing grace and wisdom in her words and actions. A goddess said to be the ideal woman. It is said that merely hearing one's name escape from her lips is enough to make a man lose his senses over the rapturous feeling and swear eternal loyalty to her. However, according to a certain younger sister who wishes to remain anonymous, she would say that Steno was the perfect example of laziness. She had not the slightest interest in things that she didn't like. Worse still, this monstrous sister's cruelty towards those she had no interest in would make the watchdogs of hell tremble in fear. The second daughter, Uriel, a lady with a carefree demeanor, overflowing smile, and the essence of purity in her words and actions. A goddess said to be the ideal girl. It is said that merely hearing one's name escape from her lips is enough to make a man tremble all over in honor, and swear to protect her even at the cost of his life. However, according to a certain younger sister who once again wishes to remain anonymous, she would say that Uriel was the ultimate display of mood swings. On top of that, she was sly as well. If I keep quiet, no one will be mad. If if I don't get caught, then there was nothing wrong. Ho ho ho. And yet she would feel just a little guilty later. That's the impish, cowardly second sister. Unlike Medusa, they liked humans very much. They welcomed the men who visited their island, comforted them, and sent them on a new adventure. But even that was a gigantic trap. They loved everything pretty and cute, freely and unconditionally. Indeed, these two devils did love humans. However, what they loved was not simply humans as living beings, but rather toying with the people they liked, embarrassing and driving them to their ruin. In short, watching them struggle. They loved it more than life itself.
姉様それは姉様たちが無条件で嫌う醜いものだと思うのですが。
呆れた。取り返しのつかないほど趣味が悪いのね、メデューサ。いいこと？綺麗なものがこの上なく無様に踊る。それが本当の美しさというものよ。
Hence, many brave men became the sisters' sacrifice. The heroes who came seeking to court them were met with impossible demands and went back to their countries weeping. Alas, the terrifying devilish three sisters. Some went to challenge the she-monster Medusa to gain fame and were petrified. Others went to seek the hand of the goddesses in marriage and ended up ridiculed beyond all reason until they met their death. Oh, brave warriors. If there are men amongst you, they shall do well to leave this place. This is the island at the utmost end of the world, an evil paradise inhabited by women of peerless beauty. Look, pal, I'm telling you for your own good, just don't ever get involved with a goddess. The island practically exists to teach you this lesson, you know? And that is the rough summary of the story behind the Temple of Darkness. A peaceful afternoon without any challengers, which was quite rare. As part of the daily ritual, Medusa is being picked on by the two older sisters again.
私からも逃げようとしてたの？ふーん。私に何をしたのか、まずは話を聞きたいわ。
Medusa is caught between the two sisters, each a spitting image of the other. Unlike Medusa, who matures slowly but surely, her older sisters remain forever the same. Since the basics of their personalities are the same, they sense the same things as well. Far surpassing telepathy, they are more like two parts of the same body, each of them feeling everything the other does.
そう。私に逆らったのね、あなた。私に二度も逆らったことになるわね。ええ。私への侮辱は私への侮辱だから。じゃあ、私と私がお仕置きをしてあげないと。もちろん。妹をしつけるのは姉の義務であり、権利であり。
Suddenly, Uriel turns to a statue standing beside Medusa. A slim and tall warrior raising a huge sword overhead.
顔もまあまあ整ってるし、これがいいかしら。
Holding onto the man's armor, she pulls herself up with all her strength, as if trying to tear the pieces off.
下姉様。
Flexing her short limbs, Uriel steadily climbs up the man's body.
下姉様、危ないからやめないと。メドゥーサ、これはお仕置きです。あなたは動かないように。はい。
Like a slithering serpent, with slow and steady movements, she flows towards the top of the statue. Not able to take her eyes off Uriel, Medusa feels as if all of her own limbs are entangled by a snake, unable to even twitch.
絶景絶景。誰かを見下ろすっていうのはこんなに気持ちがいいものなのね。ええ。浅はかなメドゥーサが増長するのもやる方ないのかもしれません。では私はお許しいただけるのでしょうか。メデューサ、物覚えの悪いあなたのことだからもう一度だけ命令してあげるわ。いい？絶対に避けちゃダメよ。
Her small body dances in the air, which is hardly surprising given that she is Uriel the Far Flyer. The flying goddess leaps towards Medusa's snow-white neck, grins wide, and opens her mouth and bares her fangs, and then delivers an evil kiss. A battle cry that punches through the skin and pierces the blood vessels below. The sweet music of smacking lips, a dancing tongue, and slurping sounds following. And then a blood-curdling scream from Medusa. One wonders what those who came to know of her later would think of if they saw her like this. Preying not on individuals, but an entire city, the demon Medusa sucked the blood of hundreds of people in one night. Do you think that she was being treated the same by this cute little girl?
姉様、痛いです。あとくすぐったい。いいざま。妹の分際で姉を見下ろしているのが気に入らなかったのよ。
The tall woman trembles in fear, and the cute little girl clings tightly onto her.
私だけというのは片手落ちかしらね。
Stena from the back of Pegasus licks her lips.
おとなしくしなさい、メデューサ。痛いのは抵抗するからですよ。上姉様。
Her blood plundered from both sides of her nape, Medusa is entranced, standing stock still. Like an endless bout of anemia, she no longer screams that she lets out. The noises now resemble the creaking of some broken mechanism.
妹ってなんてグズで横着で短慮でボンクラのくせになんて血だけはこんなに美味しいのかしら。お許しください、お姉様。
The two sucking sounds weave with each other in melodious harmony, echoing within the temple. Part of the daily ritual, the youngest sister is being disciplined by the mean sisters today. Shall be said again. That is not a rare occurrence on this island. Man. As I come to, I find myself at the storehouse. The sunlight is now considerably lower. It's been a whole hour already?
変だな。何してたんだっけ、俺。
I tilt my head.
何って私はシロとライダーが土蔵に入ったからこっそり後をつけて。あれ
Ilka also tilts her head. Ryder frowns deeply.
どうしたライダー、頭痛かというかどうしてたんだっけ、俺。
いえ、特別なことは何も。単にシロがもう少し背が高ければいいという希望を口にしていただけです。
ああ。
I clap my hands together. Yeah, we did talk about something like that, didn't we? However, if that's the case, then what is bike number 2 doing at Ryder's feet?
ライダー、その転がってる2号のことだけど。
さあ、2号車がなぜここに放置されているか、私は全く感知していませんから。そうですよね、シロ。
ああ、そうだよな。ライダーはここに立ち寄っただけだもんな。2号は
Despite my mind still being a bit foggy up to that point, with Ryder's gaze fixed on me, I start to feel that there's nothing else to it.
ええ、きっとシロがこれから修理するために持ってきたのでしょう。私からの要求はありませんが、メンテナンスをするというのなら、ペダル周りとフレームの強化をしてください。それでは、私はこれで失礼します。それとイリアスフィール。元気なのは微笑ましいのですが、あなたのような幼い少女には高いところは見合いません。 似合いませんので、間違っても土蔵の2階からダイブだけはしないように。
変なライダー。私頼まれたってそんなことしないのに。
結構です。イリアスフィールは物分かりが良くていい。それでは夕食に。
Flashing an adult-like smile, Ryder leaves the storehouse. Fascinated by the back of the cool adult-like figure, I see her off in a daze. The stylish woman hits her head and crouches down in pain.
ライダー、
ご心配なく。それとシロ、このように背が高くていいことなどあまりないのです。
Tottering Ryder disappears towards the courtyard. I see. Being tall is unexpectedly troublesome, huh? Well, we got an inside look at Medusa's trauma. Holy shit. Oh, is there something new to do here, too? Oh, hey, Ryder. About the Holy Grail War, have a look. Something new about the Holy Grail. Oh, wait, hold on. Is there a new option I can pick here?
そうですね。正直に言ってしまえば。
Yep.
そうか。
さくらが勝利を、私は私のできるシロ。
いっか。しかし。
殺すときは殺す。
ライダー。でも、いや。
でしょうね。否定はしません。
違う。半年も同じ家で暮らしたんだ。
シロ、私はこの手はこうしていい。
メドゥーサの伝説。けどあれは。その証拠に。
それはサーバントですが、私、それはもう。私は私の人と魔と英雄は循環。それがこの私が神殿に閉じ込む。私にだって。
俺はただ。
いいえ、私もけれどこれでよかった。だから迷惑をか。
分かった。けどそれはもし。
Oh, so this is new. Okay. The violet snake laps up the blood. This is her drinking Shiro's blood. Tonight, another one-sided slaughter has begun. As always, the stage is empty. Miyama's residents are fast asleep in their homes. The means change from one moment to the next. Oh no, she's fighting the creatures, right? Skewered by enormous nail-like daggers. Hanged from the streetlights, crushed by coiling chains. Occasionally, she goes too far and tears them to pieces. On a whim, she catches one in her hand and crushes its head. There are a great variety of methods. Emulating a comic she recently read, she lifts a large vehicle and flattens them beneath it. By chance, there just happened to be one at a nearby construction site. While stopping to catch her breath, she considers whether to head back or keep going. Her objective, if she remembers correctly, is to investigate this anomaly. The restarted Holy Grail War. In order to seek out the cause behind it, she's been running rampant through the streets at night. Her effort yields some limited success. Another servant has been keeping watch in Shinto, but has never found any clues. However, there is one major difference between her and the other servants. The monsters prowling the city at night. No one should have noticed them until the final day, but she had perceived them right from the start. To root out whatever was behind them, she would sneak out of the house by herself and continue her investigation one corpse at a time. There's no particular emotion driving her. When doing something out of no special interest, her body moves on its own. She becomes a machine without feeling, carrying out a predetermined task. Thus, she finds these moonlit hunts neither intriguing nor tedious, instead classifying as an ordinary chore. A fruitless, unending endeavor. A task neither boring nor exciting, she will attempt it again and again until it yields results. Nevertheless, since when did the hunt itself become the anomaly, she wondered. She controls her ragged breathing. Her self-appointed duty was completed about after half an hour. No, it was more like she couldn't help but complete it. No matter how much she wants to investigate, there's no material left. A red sea of carnage. She cannot find anything to distinguish from that. There's nothing left to analyze. She needs to examine each of her prey diligently down to their eye sockets, but there are none left. She controls her ragged breathing. Though indeed monsters, they are little more than trash when up against her. A mere 100 or 200 wouldn't even serve as a warm-up. And yet she controls her ragged breathing. Letting out what seems like pained gasps, she decides to continue the investigation. One more. I'll just check one more. Persuading herself of this, she jumps to the next hunting ground. There is a horde of roughly 100 monsters. After examining tens of thousands of them, she knew that answers would not be found here, and yet she continues with this massacre in the name of research. Without feeling, she mechanically bathes in blood. Her breathing begins to quicken again. One more. I just want to examine one more. There is nothing wrong with that. After all, the only ones dying are monsters. There are countless more to kill, and this is something she had decided to do. So she doesn't feel there's any problem or meaning in what she is doing. After all, they are the bad ones. If they didn't want to be killed, then they shouldn't have appeared. And yet they gush out in huge numbers like insects, forcing her to take them on. She wants to be left alone, but she has no choice other than to oppose them. That's right. In the very beginning, she really didn't want to do this. But there were other things that were more important. That's why she kept to her role. Still, because it was just too unpleasant, she decided to become something unlike a living creature when she worked. A simple trap that kills people.
Medusa? どこに行ったの? もう戻ってくる時間でしょ?
She heard that after one of her countless tasks.
ほら、早く出てきなさい。私が素敵な贈り物をいただいたのよ。今日は特別にあなたにも分けてあげるわ。
As always, she became a trap for the humans that tried to take her sisters away by force.
嫌な匂いね。メドゥーサ、そこにいるの?
They were not petrified. Those bodies were.
メデューサ、あなた、そこで何をしているの?
The hunched figure slurping flinched. I don't want to remember. Back then, her sister's eyes, which always radiated with joy, turned stark white with fear towards her. The feast in the name of her investigation continues. Each time she plays this part, her body grows more accustomed to its role. Her ferocity grows without end. These monsters, while stronger than humans, could never touch her. They are fodder, worthy only to be crushed underfoot. She feels her transmission shift gear by gear, from low to middle, middle to high. The only issue, if any, is that there's no limit to her gearbox, meaning the question is whether her chassis can withstand the ever-increasing RPM. Why has she become so immersed in her role? It must be because the enemy is so weak and the setting is so ideal that she's given such priority to this task despite herself, she thinks. After all, the town is empty. The people vanished at the stroke of midnight. Perhaps they were all killed by the monsters, or perhaps they never existed to begin with. It must be the latter. Those monsters are things that hunt down humans, but not once has she seen them kill anyone. They only act against those that are the same as them. These monsters only feel interest or hatred towards their fellow monsters. Hence, she is taken by surprise. With the monsters present, she thought there wouldn't be any people around. So, when a young woman appears, wandering aimlessly into the park, though she knew it was a human with a single glance, she slices through the woman without any hesitation. Her regret and confusion fade immediately. This was always a ghost town, so what if a human wandered in by mistake? Even if she didn't kill her, the monsters surely would have. So it's fine. That was a trivial, inconsequential mistake that won't happen again, she thinks with a sigh.
よくはないわ。あなたがどのような生き物で、これがどのような状況であろうとも、あなたは人を殺したのよ。
The dead woman's mouth proclaims her sin with a voice like a song. She stands up. Blood pours out from the open wound. She clutches her throat. Her ragged breaths beg for oxygen. The sight makes her dizzy with vertigo. What a sweet smell. The delicious red essence of life, which she couldn't find no matter where she looked or how many monsters she killed.
こらえが効かないのね。我慢できないのなら、どうぞ好きにして結構よ。だって、そうしたくて真っ先に人間である私に襲いかかったのでしょ。
That voice pierces her heart. That's right. There's still a flood of monsters. And yet she ignored those which were objects of investigation and hurled her dagger at the girl. She shakes her head in denial. Her dirty hair sways like snakes. Desperately, she objects, claiming it was an accident completely outside of her duty.
別の役割。あなたも異常を解明したいというの。大した欺瞞ね。あなたはこれっぽっちも町のことなんて考えていないくせに。
Her heart is sliced through, its contents exposed. That's right, she doesn't give a damn about the peace of this city. This investigation is carried out only for the sake of her master.
ああ、立派なサーバントね。けど、これは本当に彼女のためになるのかしら。
The air turns to poison. The woman approaches her step by step. Not with her legs, but her words. Approaching not her body, but her heart. She's trying to knock down the last pillar remaining in her broken self.
何日も繰り返して、いい加減疲れたでしょ。ここで楽にしてあげる。正直、見ている私も飽き飽きしてきたところだし。
She throws her dagger towards the flapping lips. Her aim is perfect. It skewers the girl's tongue and splatters even more of her blood. But even then...
認めなさい、メドゥーサ。あなたは、本当は恨んでいる。
A grudge against humans.
あなたは、本当は楽しんでいる。
Enjoying killing people.
あなたは、
Don't need a reason at all.
大切だという彼女以上に、こっちの方が大切なのよ。
The girl is still standing. The purple snakes are gradually blackened by her gushing blood.
機械に徹したところで奪った命の重さは変わらない。目を伏せたところで亡くなった命は消え去らない。蓋を閉めたまま生きていたらいつか自分の中身さえ間違えてしまう。
She is an eyesore. No matter who this human is, she is just an eyesore. So she kills her until she shuts up. She cuts open the girl's warm stomach and tears out the entrails. She almost shouts in joy. More than any human she had laid hands on before, taking her anger out on this girl feels so good. She continues to mutilate the girl's body from the stomach outwards until only the head is left. Surely the chatter will stop now. Relief gushes through her body, just when she feels a slight tinge of regret that she can't kill anymore.
これで理解できたでしょ。
あなたはあなたにふさわしい場所に戻りなさい。
At last, she realizes her true feelings. She has an unendurable desire to kill humans. Once upon a time, there was a princess. One day, the people who had loved the princess started hating her, and they sent her off to an island far, far away. Compared to her glorious life up until then, the island was very empty. Frightened by the people who had gotten angry at her without reason, the princess prayed that no one would come to the island. Still, she was very, very lonely. She wept and wondered what she had done wrong.
メドゥーサは一人になるとすぐ泣き出すでしょ。私たちの親族として。そう。
After a short time, her elder sisters arrived at the island.
私はメデューサなんてどうでもいいんだけど。まあ、召使いは必要だし。
How wonderful. Although they were still loved by all, the princess's sisters moved there for her sake. The princess was not lonely anymore. Although the island still had nothing, she was happy because her sisters were there with her. The only things left to fear were humans. Kill, kill, kill the monster! With great courage, they came to chase the princess away. Snatch, snatch, snatch the goddesses away! She could have borne it if that had been all. But then the people began to point their swords at her two sisters. To protect her sisters, the princess decided to take revenge. How wonderful. Yes, this time she could just do to the humans as they had done to her. She killed many humans. After all, even if she tried to escape, the princess had nowhere to go but the island. I don't want anybody to come. I don't want anybody to come. She had always wanted to be left alone, in peace, with her sisters, but...
やめなさい、メデューサ。挑みに来た人間たちが命を落とすのは自業自得でしょう。けれど、それを娯楽にしてはいけないわ。
Yet still they came, one after another. Since there was no end to them, she started experimenting with new ways to eliminate them more quickly. When the trap she had devised proved effective, she found it a tad funny.
あなたの魔眼は戒めるためのもの。決して恐怖を与えるものではないのです。
But it was only right that those who had done nothing but scold the princess thus far should come to fear her as well.
それを口にするのはやめなさい。私が近頃のあなたは恐ろしいと怯えているわ。
No matter how infamous and fearsome she became, the humans kept approaching with boundless ferocity. The sisters continued to scold the princess. The princess felt too ashamed to show her body that had changed shape a little, and she left the sisters she once dearly loved. In the end, she was alone again. Sad and lonely, she hungered for new sacrifices. Come to think of it, in the beginning, we were the sacrifices, she laughed, bathed in red. She swings her daggers with delight. Cackling with scorn, she tramples them beneath her. Without rest or respite, she continues running as if fleeing something. She feels giddy with each one she crushes. Giddy with disgust. Giddy with amusement. Before long, her captivation intensifies into wild passion. Before she realizes it, she was butchering the monsters in a frenzy. She doesn't want to think about anything, so she can't help but let her primal instincts take over and enjoy the hunt. The night continues. The slaughter continues. There are no living humans in the city at night. The only ones roaming about are the monsters. She is broken. The more she kills, the heavier her body grows. The more she crushes, the more she forgets her own words. In a word, she is broken. Suddenly, she lowers her eyes. Her body is beginning to change just like that time. She does not scream. Her boiling head cools at an impossible speed. Ah, of course this happened. There's no time for lamentations or ridicule. In that brief moment of absent-mindedness, she is stabbed without mercy. Monsters surround the wounded beast. The remains of her humility are on the verge of death. Impaled by multiple claws, nothing is left of her body below her chest. She has been cut into fine pieces. What remains of the blackened monster can only last a few minutes more. Through her ragged breath, she looks at her bloodied palms. Deep crimson red. She turns her claws, barely resembling human hands, to the monsters converging upon her. This corpse can still fight back. The creatures meekly decide to observe their new brethren as she dies out. Even breathing is difficult. Though she is already dying, her body continues to transform. Surely it won't stop even if she dies. After what is left of the woman stops breathing, she will disappear and be reborn as a monstrous anti-hero, with no trace of her original form. She murmurs. Being still able to utter human words feels like some kind of lingering attachment, and it irritates her. Dimly she looks at her deforming hands. She has known all along. She had confessed it to him as well. That her form was only temporary. That her true nature was that of a hideous monster. She was destined for ruin. From the moment she consumed human blood, her end had been determined. Day by day she grew. First her body crumpled, then her heart, and finally her very being decayed. All she ever wanted was to become stronger in order to protect her sisters. But in the end, even her sisters were nothing more than nuisances intruding upon her lair. The end of that chapter is unknown to her. At the time, she had neither eyes nor nose nor mouth. She had become a world that only crushed its prey. No, that had been violence committed by the monster in the first place. It had nothing to do with her before she changed. So it shouldn't be painful, but... That must have been it, she thought. And at that thought, she feels the sudden urge to gouge out her eyes. New sacrifices appear before the monster of their own accord. Joining hands, they still their trembling legs and look up at the completely disfigured monster. Said the eldest sister Steno in a gentle voice. Lovingly, like always, she smiles at the monster. Grumbled the second sister, Uriel. She curses and insults her monstrous sibling, but at times she looks at the she-beast with true sadness. Steno grasps her sister's hands, her own hands, tightly, seeking comfort from their fear, never abandoning that which they hold dear. Sacrifices think this to themselves. They were the ones who hated humans, and their youngest sister had never bore men any ill will, yet it had come to this. The two sisters were loved by men and were destined to be violated by them day after day. The elder accepted it as fate while the younger despised it, but both of them had given up. Yet their youngest sister protected them until the end.
けれど私たちを守ったメドゥーサはもういないなら守られていた私たちも同じようになくなりましょう。
That which was lost shall never return. Steno, who had dreamed that the three of them would live forever on the island far away, closes her eyes and raises her head.
うわ、もう目の前か。じゃあね、さようなら、かわいいメデューサ。最後だから口を滑らせてしまうけど、憧れていたのは私たちの方だったのよ。
The days that have gone by shall never return. Yorail, who had believed that one day the three of them would escape the rustic temple and return home, smiles like she used to and raises her head. Stop, 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 stop! Countless snakes consume both sacrifices. Without joy, without sadness. As though crushing ants, the monster grinds the sisters to a pulp. In this way, the immortal girls, retaining their form as beautiful sisters to the very end, while still alive, were absorbed into the monster. Consumed without a trace left behind, they became the monster's flesh and blood, and they continued to thrive. Thus became of the three Gorgon sisters. Thus the three goddesses banished to the shapeless isle became the monsters that people had rumored them to be. What did she love? What did she want? She had so little that was precious to her that she swore to protect them no matter what, and yet, now that she is heading to her death, while she is being transformed, she can't even recall it. She can't stop the transformation. At this rate, she will turn into a monster and disappear. Everything will end with that. From now on, she will be summoned as a monster, not to protect humans, but to annihilate them. She can't stop the transformation. There is nothing to be done, nothing to care about. The swarm of creatures is like the band at a festival. They reveled with hatred in the birth of a new monster. Her consciousness wanes. She has a feeling that there is still something left to do, yet can't quite seem to place it. As her life comes to a close, she quietly shuts her eyes. She noticed an unfamiliar presence peering at her. On Ramayu?
あれ? 俺が見えるの? そうか。あんたも怪物になっちまったんだな。
Though it feels like she has never heard its voice before, the laughter sounds all too familiar. A smirking grin and sneering eyes. It irritates her considerably. Her sadistic heart starts to pound again. If her body was strong, she would have leaped forward and plucked its head right off.
ああ、いや、ちょい違うか。あんたはそんなすっきりしたもんじゃない。あんた、自分が何者か自覚はある?
Aware. She isn't prepared for it, but she accepts it as truth. This heroic spirit's seat would no longer be Medusa's, but that of the monstrous Gorgon.
なるほど。潔い。けど、あんたは怪物の定義を知らなそうだな。わかってるか？それは生きるために人を襲うんじゃなく、人を襲うために生きる生き物だ。人間社会を真っ向に端から端まで否定する殺戮機構。ただいるだけで害悪になる毒。それが怪物ってもんなんだが、自分だって言い切れる?
She already knows that. From now on, she will embody that concept over and over again.
そんなの今さら初めから私は
Since the beginning, she has been a monster. a monster camouflaged in human intellect and appearance. If she would someday become such a monster, then her true nature must be the same. That's why it doesn't matter anymore. She roamed the city at night in search of blood and found herself indulging in slaughter. Such a monster would shed its skin to reveal its true colors someday, just like this. And yet it laughs. Heartfelt mirth. Heartfelt hatred. As if to scorn the woman who by the minute was turning into a hideous monster.
だから、そこが違うんだ。いいかい？怪物は本能で物を殺すんじゃない。それは、優れた理性で物を殺すんだ。人の手に有り余る性能を総動員して、何の疑いもなく、何の悲しみもなく、身もだえるほどの喜びを持って殺し続けるのが怪物だ。ただなんとなくで人間を殺すだなんて、そんなのは違う生き物なんだよ。あんたはまだどっちにもなれない半端者みたいだけど、同時にどちらにも傾ける猶予がある。
Her intellect wants to just fall into the abyss already, but stubbornly clings to the cliff's edge. She continues clutching pitifully at the earth, wishing for solid ground.
それはどういう？
わからないか？血を求めるあんたと他のものが気になるあんた。それはどちらも真実だ。どっちも否定はできないだろ。欲望に優劣なんざない。どっちが大きいか、どっちが大切なのかはその場その場で変わるものだ。肝心なのはあんたがまだ持っているかどうかの話。
何を？
The slightest bit of strength returns to her arm. She summons all her reserves in desperation. It is not enough to pull her out of the abyss. No matter how much she struggles, she will only disappear at this rate. Laughing, it looks down upon her.
ではと、ライダーのサーバント。あんたはその心に望むものがまだかけらでも残っているか？
I have no desires, but there is something I truly wished for.
あなたはあなたにふさわしい場所に戻りなさい。
That's right. Even if she is still Medusa now, she can't save herself if she is going to become Gorgon soon. From the start, there was never a way to save herself. She has no desires. No matter how happy days passed were, if she would devour them all eventually, there would be nothing left in her hands. However, even one such as she can still save someone. A servant is summoned to a master to whom its nature is similar. This is all the more so if the summoning catalyst is weak. Because her master had the same fate as her, she was summoned to that girl. A girl fated to turn into a monster. The victims turned aggressors formed a contract in this world as fellow monsters. That's why. She doesn't want her to end up the same. Although she can't change what she is, she can protect the girl who holds the same fate as herself. Her unfulfilled happiness. Her irredeemable sin. How deeply she loved that petty, foolish girl's desperate struggle to put on a brave face. She stares at her hands, dumbfounded. Her transformation is halted, and she's fading away as her human self.
なぜ？
怪物じゃないからだろ。みっともないが、誰かを助けたいという気持ちがあるのなら、あんたはギリギリ人間だ。
She can hear a voice from elsewhere. The speaker is near but can no longer be seen.
ああ、これで解決しちまったな。あんたの悩みは永遠について回るが、その願いがある限り、怪物になることはない。その苦悩と同じように、永遠にこちら側に来ることはない。
The presence fades. The shadow gives an all too friendly wave and disappears.
待って。あなたは。
Coughing blood, she calls out to the figure.
さすがにしつこいな、ヘビ女。大した生命力だが、今回はおとなしく死んでおけ。で、目が覚めたらマスターに謝っておくといい。ほら、俺が言うのもなんだけどさ、マスターとサーバントは仲良しじゃなくっちゃな。
Snickering, it finally disappears. In the end, she thinks it resembled a young man she knows very well.
そうですね。
She heaves a deep sigh. She lowers her clinging arms.
本当、私はいつまで経っても愚かです。
And this time her eyes finally close. Relieved that, rather than merely dying, she has recovered her wish, she murmurs.
もうすぐ帰りますから待っていてください。さくら。
Swearing a promise she could never keep, the beautiful figure vanishes from the earth. Got some wallpapers out of that. Oh wow, a lot of new stuff popping up. Alright, I'm gonna end things off here for today. And in the next one, I guess we'll pick up and just see what else we can do. So, I'll see you all then. Bye!